Hey guys, welcome back. Hello, how are ya? Welcome back to my channel. My name's Sarah if you're new here, and I apologize for what is my hair today. It is raining like crazy, and this isn't gonna get any better. Anyway, so today I wanted to talk to you guys about how I got started in the nonprofit sector, how I got my job working for a nonprofit, and what that even means. I really wanted to do this series specifically because I did a series a couple of years ago about doing AmeriCorps, right? What that program's like, why I chose to move cross country at 18, and I feel like my job now is the follow-up to that. I've been in my role for about 4 years now, but I get a lot of questions like, do you even get paid working for a nonprofit? Or what do you mean you work for an education nonprofit? So I wanted to do kind of a mini video series answering all of those questions and to kind of kickstart the conversation surrounding nonprofits, because there are so many of us 501c3s, that is kind of the classification, if you will, of what a nonprofit is. And there's so many hundreds of thousands of nonprofits around the world that you can get involved with, either volunteering or through work. So a nonprofit is basically a tax-exempt company. We call it an organization. And usually what that means is that organization, if they do a 501c3 status, it means that they are tax exempt, but also that the work that they do impacts the community in some way. Now, there are several kind of groups of nonprofits. So with me, I'm in education. There's also health, there's domestic violence, there's refugee nonprofits. Kind of if you think on a larger scale, if you know what the Red Cross is a nonprofit. And all of us kind of combined are working either kind of together where we're serving one individual in multiple different ways, or there's smaller nonprofits like Girls Who Code is a local nonprofit where they teach kids to code, specifically girls, and can get grant money for whatever their work is. Now, grants, that's kind of a whole separate section of nonprofit life. So nonprofits really, because they are nonprofit, can't have a large bank account, if you think about it that way. So all of our funding to be able to serve the individuals we do, to train them and certify them in their sector, or my salary, all comes through grants, either through city, state, county, government, federal grants. But then there's also money that people donate that help pay for things. So that's kind of like a really quick overview of what a nonprofit is. But yeah, like I get a lot of people who ask me, do you even get paid working for a nonprofit? And the answer is yes, but there are restrictions on what you can do working for a nonprofit. So like within my job, so I am a data and media specialist. So what that means is I work heavily with all of our grants that pay our bills, and I give them data back to tell them that we're using their money to impact the Austin community. But then I also get to do really fun, pretty things like social media. I get to do video production and tell our students stories about where they came from and what they're doing. And I can totally share some of those links down below if you want to check out some of the work that I've done. But yeah, so that's a little bit about what I do. And I actually, to kind of go backwards into how I got my job, we used to run Central Texas Robotics through like Lego Mindstorms, EV3 click-to-code software. And so I was a volunteer for 2 years, and the kind of the cool thing about nonprofits is that a lot of the time, if they're not larger organizations, they're going to be changing a lot. So when I came into kind of my organization and getting, acquainted with everyone, if you will, there was a need for someone to kind of streamline the data processes, do data entry, and that actually turned into a bigger project of building an internal database. So I came onto the team as an assistant, and again, nonprofits change pretty rapidly, and when funding changes, positions change. That's a normal thing. Just like when you see a government shutdown, people can't work, it cuts jobs, etc. And so that's kind of what happened with us as we went through a big transition. And I was fortunate enough that I had been doing social media and storytelling and things like that outside of work. And so I was able to take on our media stuff and kind of expand my role, if you will. And so every position I've had at my organization, I've kind of been able to take on more projects and learning objectives and grow to be the position that I am now, which is I'm in my third role technically. I just started like my fourth title. So I've had 3 different jobs within my organization. And yeah, it's really, it's kind of like the first professional job that I've ever had. And so I would say if you're looking to, make an impact, but also get into a company that is going to have time to give you professional development and you want to maybe stay local, nonprofits are really the way to go. Like I said, they were technically my first professional job outside of AmeriCorps, and I started there like 3 days after I turned 21, and I learned so much. I'm still learning so much. It's interesting, like one thing I always talk about that like the constructive criticism I got for the first time was how to send a professional email. And you would think that it doesn't seem that hard, but I just got some feedback, and that was really like one of the first things that they helped me do. And now, I've had interns and I've learned leadership and management, and I've had kind of the freedom to do that because we're a small team. There's only 12 of us, and we kind of have the freedom to be mobile, if you will, within our job. That's kind of my job. Did I ever see myself joining a nonprofit? No. I really didn't understand nonprofits kind of from the everyday aspect. You hear about Red Cross, you hear about, water relief efforts in other countries, just different nonprofits around the world, right? Like wildlife and things like that. But I really didn't know about nonprofits in my own backyard. And so I really kind of fell into this because of the work they were doing. But I didn't seek out working for a nonprofit, if that makes sense. It kind of just, an opportunity came to me, and that's how it happened. I will say that, as I've grown and as I've tried to do different things, finding other nonprofits, especially in other cities, has been really hard for me. It's not something that you're easily going to find on Indeed. You really have to do your research on that city. And I know with Austin specifically, we have an organization called Mission Capital that they do data and different things like that. And they actually have their own job board postings specifically for nonprofits in the area, which I think is really cool, because then you can kind of get to know who else is in your neighborhood, how you can continue to help your community, or send one of your current clients over to another organization to get follow-up help. Yeah, so again, one thing, my nonprofit, I guess I didn't touch too much on that, but my nonprofit, like I said, is in education, specifically adult education. So we are an alternative training provider for people who don't want to go to college. So we're kind of in the vocational kind of silo, if you will. So we're training individuals, men and women. I've launched a whole campaign about women in construction, so I'm very proud to be non-gender focused. But yeah, we do entry level, basically first year apprenticeship work in construction, and then we do home health for the healthcare sector. So we're very targeted on what we do. Whereas, if you think about the Red Cross, it's just health, right? We are very focused, and you're gonna see that through nonprofits when you decide you want to help out. But I will say that during my time in nonprofit, one thing that I've learned is that everyone could use a nonprofit. I think there's this kind of weird stigma that you have to be needy to be to be able to go to a nonprofit. And yes, we have our restrictions from some grants who pay for tuition, who will pay for a student to come through our classes or pay for their starter tool set, or sometimes we'll help individuals with rent or things like that. So there is kind of some stipulation, but what I've been working really hard to do is open up the conversation to 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds who don't want to go to college, who couldn't afford college, but understand that blue-collar jobs will give you a good life, and you can make a lot of money going into commercial construction, especially if you become like a project manager. So that's like one thing through my social that I've really kind of learned and accepted and really gotten excited about women in construction, but also opportunity youth. So you and me, if you're, you know, my age, 24, 25, and kind of trying to figure out, well, if I can't afford college, like where else do I go? And so that's been like a really cool learning curve, but also like being able to like get, I guess close is like a word, but like meet people and talk to people who are changing their life or changing their career. Maybe they made a couple mistakes and they were incarcerated. I've been able to work with all kinds of demographics and populations, and it's been really exciting. And it's never been something, like I said, that I was like gung-ho about, but it was because I just didn't know a whole lot. And so I feel like coming and working for a nonprofit has really opened my eyes to literally my community. Because I feel like, especially with like Austin, is that, you know, we're known now as tech. We are the new Silicon Valley, and that's all you hear about is brunch and happy hour and Apple moving in and this and that. But like, what about the people who are here and now can't afford to live here because these companies are moving in? You know, those are the individuals that are changing my life. And it's kind of ironic because like our tagline at my organization is changing lives. And so I feel like my life has been changed just from working for one. I will say too, you know, you're not going to become a millionaire working for a nonprofit. You know, it's kind of, again, like the AmeriCorps thing. If you watch how I think the video is called like How I Survived on the Stipend or something.
But so, like, I didn't plan for anything. I think I maybe had like $200 in my pocket, not including like moving costs, but I had roughly like $200 to last me 2 weeks once I got down. If you're coming into AmeriCorps, I do not advise you to do it the way that I did it.
But like, you're not gonna make more than a livable wage, like barely above. I was fortunate enough to, let me like backtrack and say this, is like, my nonprofit doesn't hire based on education, which I think is really cool because we're an alternate to college. And so like for me, the raises that I've gotten and the salary that I earn is because of my merit and the work that I do, and not because I have a bachelor's. Well, I mean, I do now, but I didn't when I started there. Or because I have a master's or anything like that. Like, it's literally based on experience, which I think is great. But yeah, so like the other thing I think like is really cool about nonprofits, at least mine, you know, I can't speak for all of them, but like, sure, we don't get paid a whole lot, but I don't know why I'm talking with my hands like this. Sorry guys. We don't get paid like, you know, I mean, I get paid more than a tech salary with what I do from Glassdoor. Thanks, Glassdoor. Hashtag thanks. But our benefits are great. Like, so my nonprofit, the organization I work for, they pay all of our insurance and nothing comes out of my pocket. Additionally, I get unlimited vacation. And basically what that means is that as long as it's approved, I can take as much vacation as I want a year, which was really great when I was in college because I could take off for finals, I could take off for midterms. I could go home for Christmas because we get 2 weeks at Christmas off, and that's when I'm filming this lovely video because I have the time. But yeah, so like our benefits are really great. For up until like 2 months ago, we were working in the heart of downtown Austin, and like I had downtown parking, and so that was like great for South by because I could use the office. Yeah, so like our benefits are awesome, and that really, other than like, you know, seeing the individuals we serve and their impact, I feel like I have it kind of made. Like, that's like one thing my grandmother has said is like, you literally have it made. Like, you have all these benefits, you live and work in Austin, you can afford it. Like, yeah, I'm not like rich or anything, but like I can afford to like go out to eat a couple times a week if I wanted to, or, you know, I live on my own in a 1-bedroom apartment. You know, so things like that, like, yeah, you have to watch your money, but it's like not terrible. Like, I'm actually surprised. Like, I feel like people, you know, a lot of like things like people recently leaving college, about how broke you are as a recent grad, and I'm like, I don't see that at all. But yeah, and they let me like work through school, and I think that's one thing I've heard a lot about nonprofits like in Austin, from friends who work at other ones, is they're they truly believe in education as like a way to improve. And so like I went to school full time. I took 6 to 7 classes a semester, and I worked full time. And I was able to like flex my hours that way. I know people who are like in their master's programs working, you know, and being able to juggle that. But yeah, I think that nonprofits they can be draining, and the work that you do can be really rough depending on, you know, kind of what silo you go into, like I said before, whether that's education or homelessness or hunger or anything that has to do with children or abuse. But it can also be incredibly rewarding. And if you are even remotely interested in nonprofit work or you have questions, feel free to comment below and ask me. Message me on Twitter here. I'm on Instagram. I'll put all my links in the description, and ask me, because I feel like this is a really great topic to talk about, especially just because, you know, you can volunteer for a nonprofit or you can do these things, and it can be extremely rewarding to you, but also really good for your resume if you kind of need a boost. But I think it's a great topic to talk about, especially if you don't want to go into tech and you're not kind of sure what you want to do. Nonprofit can be a really good option to kind of kickstart your career in that way. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, give it a like, hit that subscribe button, and again, if you have any questions, let me know, and I will see you guys later.